General Oesch, something absolutely infuriating is happening at Kivenapa. Eyewitnesses report a Soviet armored car with a loudspeaker mounted on it, driving around and spreading Bolshevik propaganda.
Uh-oh.
Didn't think anything could infuriate you, Iro.
Precisely. Our people are more or less immune to that nonsense, but it makes the Soviet soldiers fight with added enthusiasm. For God's sake, get in there and shut that circus down.
It will be my pleasure.
Splendid. May they serve you well in the field.
The Soviets aren't half as fierce.
As expected, most of them are conscripts. The Bolsheviks are good at raising endless hordes of soldiers, but ultimately those men don't know what they are fighting for. Our soldiers do.
Track 16. Podilsky Toftre National Nature Park. Podilsky Toftre is a national park located in the Podillia region in western Ukraine. The park covers an area of 17,000 hectares and includes nature reserves and protected areas. This is the largest park in Ukraine and one of the largest in Europe. This park is located along the banks of the Dniester River. The park has various different ecosystems, including wetlands, grasslands, and forests. The park is one of the 7 natural wonders of Ukraine. National Park Podilsky Toftre is home to a wide variety of wildlife, including roe deer, wild boars, wolves, wild cats, red foxes, badgers, otters, and others. A lot of local caves have become a cozy home for 14 kinds of bats. In addition, in this national park you can find 65 animal species and 60 types of plants from the Red Book of Ukraine. Podilsky Toftre is a great place to visit if you love observing nature and having fun. You can go hiking, bike riding, or bird watching. You can even try a hot air balloon ride. There is an educational center that teaches people about the animals and the environment in the park. Podilsky Toftre region is known as the possible birthplace of the Ukrainian language. This area is also famous for its ancient churches and monasteries. There are more than 300 archaeological sites and historical objects, but the most popular tourist location is Atlantis Cave. This natural wonder is full of fantastic stalactites and stalagmites. There is also an underground river that used to be part of the Dnipro River. It is a really special and magical place that is worth seeing. This national park offers a variety of activities for mobility-impaired people. The park provides accessible trails, viewing platforms, as well as wheelchair-accessible restrooms and shelters. The park also has several interactive exhibits that are interesting to visitors of all ages and abilities.
A large rose tree stood near the entrance of the garden. The roses growing on it were white, but there were 3 gardeners at it busily painting them red. Alice thought this a very curious thing, and she went nearer to watch them. And just as she came up to them, she heard one of them say, "Look out now, Five! Don't go splashing paint over me like that!" "I couldn't help it," said Five in a sulky tone. "Seven jogged my elbow." On which Seven looked up and said, "That's right, Five. Always lay the blame on others." "You'd better not talk," said Five. "I heard the Queen say only yesterday you deserved to be beheaded." "What for?" said the one who had spoken first. "That's none of your business, too," said Seven. "Yes, it is his business," said Five, "and I will tell him. It was for bringing the cooked tulip roots instead of onions." Seven flung down his brush and had just begun. "Well, of all the unjust things," when his eye chanced to fall upon Alice as she stood watching them, and he checked himself suddenly. The others looked round also, and all of them bowed low. "Would you tell me," said Alice a little timidly, why you're painting those roses?" 5 and 7 said nothing, but looked at 2. 2 began in a low voice. "Why, the fact is, you see, miss, this here ought to have been a red rose tree, and we put a white one in by mistake, and if the queen was to find it out, we should all have our hats cut off, you know. So, you see, miss, we're doing our best afore she comes to—" At the moment, 5, who had been anxiously looking across the garden, called out, "The Queen! The Queen!" And the 3 gardeners instantly threw themselves flat upon their faces. There was a sound of many footsteps, and Alice looked round eager to see the Queen.